The older we get, the less likely we are to move, and that increases our risk of injury and other chronic diseases. Yet, so many people are fearful of moving as they age, not only in older adult years, but also in some of the early adult years. That's why this week we're going to dissect why movement is medicine and how, by doing any types of different movements, you can help decrease pain, reduce inflammation, and give yourself so much more life.
Definitely. I mean, I think we know now that exercise is great for us. We know that we need to exercise and move in life, but study after study is continuously coming out year after year that how important exercise is. And especially nowadays where we feel that there's just so much going on where there isn't a lot of movement, like obviously like elevators, escalators, different things like that, where people are able to get from one place to another without having to walk or move, go
Right.
upstairs. I mean, going on different the mopeds and all the
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that, and it's getting worse and worse when it comes to that, and we are just finding even more information about movement and how it is the best medicine.
exactly. And those things are great for people who actually need them, and there does come a time where, as rehab professionals, we might say to a patient, like, hey, right now you need to rest. And sometimes people take that like a little too literally, and they truly think that they should do nothing. But even as we mention rest, we are mentioning some types of movement to help keep blood flowing, help increase circulation, because that unto itself is going to help aid in recovery and, whatever thing that you are trying to overcome. So 100%. I mean, when you said that, John, the first thing I thought about was picking up groceries, right? Like, it is such
Exactly.
a modern convenience that we have that, is great for busy moms who don't want to eat out during the week and are saving time buying groceries 100%. But how many times have we seen someone who is just necessarily, they're using that because they don't want to get out and walk around and do things like that. And there's a time and a place for movement and not movement. And as John was mentioning, as therapists, we are seeing so much research coming out on the importance of movement and different types of movement to help treat a variety of chronic diseases, conditions, injuries, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, the first year that I lived in this apartment, back a few years ago, I had a free subscription to the groceries that get delivered to your door. So I was never going out. And it's like you said, I mean, DoorDash, Uber Eats,
Right,
so
exactly.
popular. I mean, everything. You literally don't have to move. You do not have to get up off the couch. You can sit at home all day and you will be
Yeah.
brought food, anything you want. Groceries. I mean, you can buy anything on
Right.
Uber Eats and
Uber,
DoorDash nowadays.
yeah, Uber and DoorDash, they promote now. Like, oh, you forgot a razor? Don't worry, DoorDash will bring it to
I
you.
know it's
Like,
crazy.
oh, and again, I practice, what I preach sometimes. Do what I say, not as I do. That's what I was trying to say.
But
Because sometimes out of convenience, I order things off Amazon that I could go at the grocery store.
yeah,
But,
but the thing is, if you're exercising and you're getting in that,
right, right.
60 to 90 minutes, and that's the thing. If you exercise for, 30, 60 minutes a day, that's great. But you really shouldn't just be sitting around
Yes,
the rest of the day. You should be walking. I mean, luckily for us, going into different nursing facilities, we are walking around like all day.
exactly.
I feel like a lot of people have jobs where they sit at a desk or sit on
Hmm.
at a computer all day, and a lot of my patients have low back pain because they're just sitting all day.
Right.
And a study came out in 2019 in the Journal of Alternative Medicine, I believe, that talked about low back pain. And they looked at medicine, they looked at diet, they looked at rest, they looked at all different types of interventions for the low back pain, and they found that exercise, aerobic exercise, and lumbar stabilization, so basically like abdominals or like core exercises, is the number one best thing you can do for low back pain. And it showed the biggest decrease in chronic low back pain. So the low back pain went down and stayed down for longer periods of time. Even compared that with massage. They talked about, massage, and they
Yeah.
said, massage is good, but to really get that low back pain down,
I love it.
You need to exercise.
I love it. And this is where we plug, if you're having low back pain, reach out to Jon. Gonna give
Yeah.
you that curated
Yes.
core strengthening program. But I, and it's so much easier said than done sometimes. I totally, understand that. But how many times do we run into that in all the different types of settings we're in, all the different types of facilities? Individuals are like, oh, I have so much back pain and I already got Tylenol today and it's not working. I got gabapentin and it's not working.
Yeah.
And
I'm in so much back pain I can't move, or I'm in so much pain I can't move today. It makes no sense because I understand where these people are coming from,
of course,
but you have to understand that the research shows that light movement and when you're in so much pain is going to help. And that's the thing as therapists that we've been preaching for 10 plus years now in the field. And a lot of people just still don't understand that that movement can help them.
right, the movement's going to help to increase blood flow. It's going to help to bring, you know, circulating blood throughout the body. It's also going to help to release endorphins. And endorphins unto themselves are going to help you modulate your pain. They are going to give you some more of that feel goodness. And, sometimes we need that to help with our body's pain response. And that's why it is so important to get in, you know, specific types of movement. We're not necessarily saying you have low back pain. Let's go, train for a half marathon or do a high intensity interval class. There, as Jon mentioned, core training, Pilates, yoga. There are different things that are a little bit more slow that really help to work the core and stabilize those muscles that surround the low back, the hips, the glutes, things like that can really help when it comes to
Yeah.
pain.
So yeah, if you're having any low back pain, reach out to me. I definitely know some great stretches, some great core exercises that can help immediately. I mean, you'll see a difference in days. So, always can reach out to me. But Courtney, you mentioned about endorphins. So another study that I found looked at the geriatric population and they looked at mental health with the geriatric population. So we know that a lot of them have depression. I mean, you look at that post
Right.
medical history, depression is in there.
100%.
Depression slash anxiety is in there absolutely, and they are on some kind of SSRI or some kind of medicine for that. So they looked at um, exercise versus medicine for mental health, and over the course of the 6 month study, they found that exercise actually had a increased uh, result in mental health and
Yeah.
lower depression versus the medicine. And it's just crazy that moving and exercise is really the number one medicine that we can do and what we can take for mental health,
Right.
which
Not
is
just physical health.
exactly, which is I feel like is a new kind of information that again a lot of people do not understand, and they need to kind of put two and two together and look at these studies and really try other things versus just going on the medicine.
Right. And sometimes it's out of our control. When we go to our doctor, we might say that we're feeling down and we're, maybe feeling sorts of depressed. They're not out here saying, like, so, when was the last time you went outside for a walk? They're like, oh, you're depressed. Like, okay, let's look at a laundry list of medications that we could potentially put you on to help with that depression. They're not necessarily looking at the root cause. So I heard this analogy the other day and I have to share it with you guys. It's perfect. They were saying if you had a flat tire on your car, you wouldn't necessarily just keep putting air in the tire and drive your car. You know that that's going to cause your car damage. That's going to not fix the problem. You're going to have to continue to put air in that tire every single day. And that's kind of what we're doing sometimes when it comes to these medications. There's a time and a place, of course. But instead of filling the air or putting air in the tire, why not just replace the tire? Figure out what's wrong, fix it, and then you won't have to worry about that. And that's what I feel like sometimes is missing when it comes to lifestyle, movement, nutrition. We are saying, like, hey, let's just, do this instead. And we're not looking at all those pieces. Coming off the mental health aspect as well, a research published in 2017, I believe, in the Journal of Science was talking about the impact of movement on insomnia. So it looked at 36 individuals and had them broken into two groups. One group did the exercise and the other group did not. And it found that the group that did the exercise had an uh, increased time in, or excuse me, decreased time in the ability they were able to fall asleep. So therefore, their insomnia symptoms were decreased. And that can come with a lot of, things. I believe some of the endorphins that let off, are good for mental health in that aspect. Sometimes we need to get moving so we decrease some of that rumination going on in our mind. And also just general fatigue, right? We're kind
Yeah.
of moving our body more and it gets tired at the end of the
There's
day.
so many patients that I have in the nursing facilities that lay in bed all day or don't really do anything, and then so many of them say, "Well, I couldn't sleep," and then I couldn't sleep, the night before, and it's just a cycle, and it's really hard to break out of. And I struggled with this in college, like my early, like freshman, sophomore year of college. I was really not sleeping well at all, and it got to the point where I would just force myself to, even though I'm so tired and I just went to class and I got 2 hours of sleep the night before and I was tossing and turning, I would force myself to go on a walk or go do some exercise and go just move and fill my day up with different, movement activities. And then I found myself being able to fall asleep easier at night because of you know, the fatigue, like you said, just being overall tired, which is for somebody who, um, suffers from insomnia, I would definitely recommend, trying to get up early, get that sunlight in, move around. We're built to move around when the sun is up.
Right, exactly.
So, and then wind down early. Not too early, but definitely want to wind down early, get back in that parasympathetic, do some of the breathing techniques, meditation that we've talked about in many, episodes before, and then the sleep will just come and then you will feel like a whole different person.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that we can't mention exercise and sleep without reminding you guys, if you didn't already know, to make sure you're not exercising too close to the time that you want to go to bed, right? Because exercise is going to increase our core body temperature, and we want to have a lower core body temperature when we are going to bed.
Yeah, I have a basketball game tonight at 8 p.m. That's the only time that I exercise past 5 p.m.
Right.
because, you know, basketball is number one. But I mean, after the games, it always takes me hours to kind of calm
Calm
down, bring
down.
that body temperature down. So I want to say the studies that I've looked at, they talk about it doesn't really matter as far as like what time, as far as morning, afternoon, or kind of like after work, like later evening, as long as you're getting in some kind of exercise throughout the day.
Nice. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean they talk about, maybe in the morning you won't have as much energy, but if that kind of works, someone like you, it kind of works
Yeah.
for you.
I feel like the
Around
day weighs on me. Like if I go work out, if it's not like yoga or Pilates or something slow and it has to be a little bit more like I gotta use my strength, I'm
Mhm.
like the day is weighed on me and I'm useless. So
That's for sure.
hey, that's not nice. But so we've talked about so far, the benefits of exercise when it comes to low back pain, when it comes to pain in general, pain modulation, when it comes to mental health, insomnia. I think that there's also something that is needs to be said in terms of overall inflammation. So exercise is going to help our inflammatory response within our body and, increase some of those good natural defense mechanisms that are going to help reduce overall body inflammation. So I believe one study conducted in 2019 looked specifically at knee osteoarthritis, and it did find that some forms of graded movement, right, that weren't super weight bearing, did have a positive effect on overall inflammation and therefore arthritis symptoms in individuals with specifically knee arthritis. And sometimes we think that's a little counterintuitive. Similarly to the pain, right? Sometimes we're like, how can movement be good when I'm in so much pain? And I think that's a big thing with people with arthritis. Again, probably how many people do you know have arthritis that you work
Everybody.
with? Exactly. So it's sometimes hard to convince those individuals why graded movement is important.
Yeah. And knee Like you said, for sure, hip arthritis I see a lot. And like you said, the non-weight bearing, I mean, walking, I would say most of my patients who are able to walk have less pain during and after walking, which is weight bearing, but it's not like you're doing
Right, right.
squats
Yeah.
or you're doing prolonged standing or anything like that. But the bike, I would say, is number one as far as reducing pain. And obviously the geriatric population loves it, but really at any age. I mean, the bike is great for hip movement, for knee movement, for blood flow. It's great for endurance, non-weight bearing, so you're not, pushing weight through your joints. Swimming obviously is
Right.
another.
Swimming, I was gonna say, was like the number one that it said
Yeah.
was like
I mean,
swimming is good.
cardio, endurance, full body exercise, swimming is amazing and we should do more swimming. I mean, kind of tough in the wintertime to get out and swim laps in that freezing cold pool, but
We
um,
can do
well, you could do it.
it.
I'll try.
No, you can do it. You can do
but but yeah, so there's a lot of ways. Again, reach out if you're having any knee pain, anything like that. I mean, like we said before, I have seen a ton, just about everything in the last few years in the clinic. So I've seen what works, what doesn't work, and um, it's crazy. Every year that goes by, you see different things that like, wow, this really is so important, and so many people don't know that motion is lotion, and you need to move to reduce inflammation and reduce arthritis.
Yes. Well said. Motion is lotion. Um, Kind of going off that some more, that when we are being proactive and we're moving in these ways when we're maybe a little bit younger or as we age, right? 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and so on. When we get older, we therefore have a decreased risk of falling or having something major like that happen, which would be the absolute worst thing potentially as you age. Because unfortunately, it is found that individuals who have a major fall are most likely going to, have some type of increased issue, whether it result in death or not, within the next 2 years. So being super mindful of what your movement is now and how your movement is going to help you as you age and age gracefully. And I feel like that's something that I personally kind of suffered with a little bit in the beginning of my exercise career. I was a runner and like I ran myself into the ground in high school, and I went into college and I was like, if I never run again, I will be so happy. And I went into more of like lifting in the gym, and at first very unstructured, and then the more structured I got, the more all I focused on was just getting strong in the gym, getting strong in the gym. And sometimes we don't necessarily look at like, okay, how is that going to help me longevity wise, movement wise. And I feel like I really did suffer with some movement issues. I had a lot of shoulder pain, I had back pain, I had all these things because all I was focused on was one plane of motion, one type of thing. And now integrating all these different types of movement in Pilates, yoga, strength training, cardio. I mean, I go out and I run more now. It has made me feel so much better.
Yeah.
And I have more of that well rounded program. Like, I specifically work on balance and, plyometrics, being explosive, because I want to make sure that as I get older, my body is ready to take on some of those things. John knows I'm not the most graceful. I can run fast sometimes, but like a tiny crack in the sidewalk is gonna catch me and I could trip. And by being more explosive, I'm more easily able to catch myself and recover from that fall than if I wasn't.
Yeah.
So, that's just kind of something that I felt the need to bring too, because when we're doing these things, it's kind of like, why are we doing them? Right? What is the importance? Because if you have better cardiovascular endurance, you're able to chase around your niece and nephew and be able to keep up with them in that kind of way, you know? And same thing, it's like you're able to match kids much younger than you on the basketball court. And
Facts.
that is able to translate into so many other areas. You're able to care for, overweight older individuals who can't get up without your help. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like just making sure that as we're including these movements, and that's why something so basic like walking is so beneficial, because all of us need to walk for the rest of our lives. Squatting, sitting up and standing up and sitting down. Like we all want to be able to get off of the toilet, off of a chair, off of something as we age, so kind of focusing on those movements, um, what you do in your everyday life. Like if you're going to reach overhead, how functional is it? Making sure that it's something like you can put something in a cabinet, you can put a box overhead, things like that. So,
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, I play basketball, I run, and then, I go and play pickleball or flag football or something that I don't play too often, and I feel super sore for a couple of days. And I'm like, well, why? Because I play basketball all the time or I run a lot, so I should be fine. But each sport and each movement, you're going to recruit different muscles. I mean, we have 262 muscles in our, I don't know if that's true. I remember,
I was like, damn, that would be.
I
That's
feel like it might be 262 bones. Again, I took anatomy. It was 10 years ago. I don't remember exactly how many muscles we have, but we
we
have a
got a
lot of
lot.
small muscles. The rotator cuff is made up of 4 different muscles. Your abdomen's made up of multiple different muscles. I mean, your hamstring's made up of multiple, 3 different muscles down there. Every single movement is going to recruit different muscles, different nerves to fire. So definitely like challenging yourself to kind of get out and try different things like yoga, Pilates, something that I don't normally do. So it's not easy for me. And then trying that, every once in a while. Long distance running is another one that we don't do, too
Too
often because we're
often, yeah.
always kind of focused on that anaerobic or quick movements. So it's always good to challenge yourself with different movements. So that's a great point.
Yeah, I think that, it's just something to keep in mind as we go into this new year, right? We talked in our last episode, this is our first episode in 2025. We didn't even talk about that. Season 2, guys. We've been a podcast for maybe a little shy of a full year because I think we started like middle of January.
Yeah.
So, it'll be a full year coming up here soon. So, as we go into this new year, what can you bring to your body? What types of movements can you integrate into everyday life and into your workout routine to help you live the most optimal way possible? And I think that that's something that we lose a little bit when we are just focused on burning calories, right? Exercise shouldn't necessarily be done to just burn calories. Exercise should be done to facilitate different types of movement patterns to help you live an optimal life. And I think that's what's so beautiful about integrating different types of movements in. So maybe that's a challenge to some of you guys this year. What can you add that you weren't focusing on before? Or what is something that you want to improve upon, even if it's, like you are focusing on weight training and maybe you've just been mindfully or mindlessly going through it to burn calories. And now you can mindfully go through it to help facilitate different types of things you want to do. Like, are you lifting lower body so you can get stronger to, get off the floor when you're pushing, those Christmas boxes back underneath the bed for next year? Things like that,
Hmm.
like how can it be functional and how can it bring you joy and more life and not be seen as a form of like negative?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And just want to touch on one last study that I found. It talked about we talked about this before, but walking after a meal, I
Hmm.
want to say decreases the insulin spike by like 50%. So again, before you have a meal, you have dinner, let's say, and you just kind of sit around on the couch for the rest of the night. Maybe it's good, maybe you and your partner, or maybe just yourself. If you have dinner, just kind of go on a short, you know, mild to moderate walk, 10 to 15 minutes outside. I mean, we did it last night. It was while the sun was setting, it was such a vibe
Beautiful.
through nature, getting outside, breathing that oxygen. And um, it honestly has so many benefits. It helps you digest your food rather than just
Exactly.
sitting around. And again, you don't want to go running or
Right,
sprinting
right. Yeah.
right away, but if you're just kind of just walking, moving around a little bit, it's really going to help.
I love it. Yes. Yeah. So thinking about how movement is medicine, right? We kind of touched upon it and we'll bring it full circle right now, helping to help with a mirage of different, you know, injuries, chronic diseases, conditions, insulin sensitivity. You think directly diabetes. You also think metabolic syndrome, right? So again, pain management, arthritis, low back pain, insomnia, mental health. If you are someone or know someone that is suffering from any one of these things, and I can count on both hands, you know, just off the top of my head, individuals who are suffering from these, maybe share this episode with them. Maybe share community and movement with them. Invite them to go on a walk. Invite them to the gym with you or to that Pilates class or to that yoga class. What can you do to help not only yourself but others around you that may also be suffering? So,
Yeah, it's a great point. Let's move all 2025. Let's continue to play.
yes, yeah, because like I said, that's what you want to do. You want to play at the end of the day. You want to, add more life and you want to increase your health span, not just your lifespan. So, thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's episode, first episode of 2025. We are so excited to bring you some of this stuff. And as John would always say, we got lots of good stuff coming your way.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. Just watched a documentary on Netflix recently called Don't Die. I want to talk about that because there is a lot. This guy is crazy.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
it's about a multi billionaire that is basically doing every single thing possible to expand his life and live into the 120s. And it's just crazy the amount of things that he's doing. A lot of it we talk about, but he's kind of pushing it to a different level. But I do want to kind of talk about that maybe one of these episodes coming up.
Yeah, exactly. So, as always, guys, if you want to hear something on the podcast, let us know. Drop it in the comments. Drop in the comments what ways you're going to increase your movement this week. And thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. And we'll see you next week.
Till next time.